Hey, listen, first of all, let's celebrate the news. You just found out what?
First charter tomorrow, baby.
Hilton Head Inshore Charters. I'm going to get it here. Nice job. Congratulations. And pretty fitting right here. Thank you for coming. We had his dad on last week, and just as famous and just as good as what he does, Drew Davis. Thank you for coming.
Hey,
man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you having here. Man, we can go through a lot of different stuff, and obviously, Fuzzy's your father. You've had probably a pretty good upbringing, but tell us how you. I know your dad's been fishing forever. When did you catch the buzz? Because a lot of kids, they don't have to follow in their father's footsteps. So what's your story in the house with a guy that's pretty much fishing all the time?
So, I mean, I can remember fishing, honestly, my whole life. Dad always taking me. I think the biggest thing, though, is funny, Fuzzy, I mean, you know him, super easygoing, never pressured me. He's never like, oh, you got to go fishing today, it's this. I mean, it was kind of like, I could have told him I wanted to do ballet, and he'd been like, oh, nice, Bo. Yeah, just, I don't know, you just never, so that was one thing. I never felt like pressured. I had to fish, I had to do this. We were obviously a big outdoors family, always fishing on my mom's side, kind of got me into hunting. So we were always, shooting sporting clays, so we were always kind of involved in the outdoors. Obviously fishing a little bit more than all that. But we would always just go out, and honestly, growing up, we did a lot more tubing. That was
fun, yeah.
I mean, when you're in 5th grade, you like want to go catch a redfish, you want to go tubing for 5 hours with your friend, drink like 90 soft drinks, and my mom had all the snacks and stuff. So it was just being out on the boat, and that kind of graduated into more of maybe let's bring a rod today and doing this. And so it was kind of we always liked to fish, but I kind of found it, my passion, I guess, just kind of watching my dad and discovering myself. There's never any pressure like, hey, you got to fish today, you got to be a charter boat captain. It kind of all trickled on its own. So that was a big,
And what was like the first moment that you, what's the first fish that just took you away a little bit, maybe took everything into the next gear? Do you remember that? Could have been hunting too. I mean, we can talk about the hunting aspect. I mean, you're a big hunter and done a lot of different types, duck and deer and all sorts of stuff, but what fish got you crazy a little bit when you were younger?
I think, honestly, I do remember my favorite thing in the world, and it's obviously because you're fishing fuzzy spots, it's trout fishing, because he'd take me to these spots. He'd check me out of, it was school early, and he'd bring a couple of my buddies, and we'd, get out of, it was math class or something in middle school, and we'd go and catch like 200 trout. And it was just, and then I do remember going like by myself with my buddies, and we'd catch like 2, and I was like, dude, fishing's horrible. This is like, let's go tubing, So that was the numbers game for me, and I was just like, man, if I could get there, this is so much fun. And that was kind of just seeing, it's funny, you go with Fuzzy, and he'd have he's been doing it forever, but he was just so good at what he did. It made it fun, and obviously seeing what he looked at with the waters, the tides, everything, and just dialed it all in, because it's such a science. People, a lot of people who don't fish just think we just go out, like grab a lure, and they weren't biting today, or something like that. There's so much science and understanding the waters and everything. So I do remember just being fascinated with trout, because the numbers game was insane.
Okay, he knew to take you out younger and get you.
Y'all put up some numbers.
Yeah,
all the time.
I'd never catch trout. He's like, dude, 60 trout. I'm like, what?
I finally got in the fuzzy club with the trout. But yeah, I do remember that. That was a lot of fun, and I always wanted to go trout fishing. I do remember that. And then, once I was older and I could fight the tarpon, we started doing that. The bigger fish, Jack Crevalle, tarpon.
What age did he finally decide that your time for it?
I think I was in middle school when my first tarpon.
10 or 12 in that range,
in that
probably.
Range,
yeah.
And I just remember going like, I never want to catch one of those again.
That's still like a little
I was some fat,
that's still small.
I was some fat, chubby, 6th grader going into cardiac arrest. My dad's like, you got it, man. I'm like, hand me a Diet Coke, But no, that was really fun. Everything's graduating. It wasn't just jumping in. And another big thing too, I was just having fun catching anything. My dad wasn't like, oh, trout, whatever. Look, we got to hit the big trophy fish. It was like whatever. It could have been whiting. I actually do remember one day we were catching trout, and we caught all these big whiting, and like on the artificial. That's all I wanted to do, and it wasn't like, oh, stop catching those.
Right.
We were actually, I even give the spot away, kind of.
Oh, that'd be great.
And,
We'll talk about that later.
yeah, it was on the north end of the island. I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, Fuzzy's gonna watch this and be like, you give away my spot. So we'll take that for another podcast.
But that is the way he pretty much taught you, is he eased in on it, and then he already basically implanted that it doesn't matter what kind of fish we all catch. We'll catch anything and having fun while you're trying to do it and stuff. How about your and I don't know this for a fact, but I kind of assume it from knowing you for a while. Who were your buddies back in the day? I mean, did you find other guys or gals that just were kind of into it too? I mean, this island, here's one over here, right here, you know, younger generation, and Campbell and all those guys that you're friends with and stuff.
Yeah, so it's funny, in middle school, like my buddies would fish with me, but I was super unathletic, so I didn't make it on any sports teams, so thank God I had fish.
Looking this way, I don't know how that
I couldn't catch, every time someone threw me a football, I'd get like wedged in between my helmet. That's how I would catch it. I just run, and it usually was the opposite way. So luckily for me, I was so unathletic, I had so much time to fish. And, you know, all my other buddies were playing, you know, football and, you know, other sports. So I didn't have, and there were some other people, and Campbell and I started fishing a lot in high school, but middle school, I'm trying to think, is honestly, you know, kind of older people, some of my dad's buddies.
Yeah.
And like,
you too,
yeah,
same thing.
It blow you away how hard it is to get someone your age to go fish with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. Yeah. I mean, we went fishing because I couldn't get anybody else to go.
I mean, even when I grew up.
So is it your last option?
Yeah, that's right.
I was the last one through the list. I call Werner. He has no friends. But that was like that in high school for me. I mean, you were kind of an outsider because I loved it so much, and there wasn't a lot of money. And you'd take him and be like, "How awesome is it?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, whatever. Let's go tubing."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How about so you just mentioned and your mom's father, and then your dad told a story how he met your mom. So your grandfather, was he a big fisherman and hunter? Yeah,
so he was a huge hunter, big fisherman. I think he was more of a wannabe fisherman. Like he caught a bunch of fish, but he wasn't like super dominant. Right. They'd come down here and fish a bunch, and he was a phenomenal outdoorsman. But his department was more of the hunting side, and it was more of, I wouldn't say wannabe fishermen, but they came down here and fished in the summers, and it was fun. They go out and catch Spanish and stuff like this, but he wasn't like probably researching like different lines for tarpon and stuff like that. It was more like, let's go to the beach, let's go catch some Spanish, let's have fun. And then because they lived up in Atlanta at that time, so they had the house down here, so they'd come in the summers, the falls, have fun, and then head back up.
Very cool. Very cool. So now you get into high school. Does that change a little bit? I mean, because now you've got to be, well, he's not pressuring you. Are you loving fishing now? Are you getting away from the tubing and stuff?
Yeah. No, I actually just went tubing yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I don't even own a tube. I need to get a tube.
You need to get back in the game.
I know.
I'll tell you.
I've got a tube.
Who wants to tow him around first? I'll take the first.
Slinging baby.
Tubing. You find a bunch of good spots because you're just going for that looks good.
Well, you know what's funny is that when I did it for Live Oak, man, I would go by all you guys and all your favorite spots, and I'm in a deck park, and I'm like, that's a good spot. That's a good spot. I'm like, wow, he's there every day. That must be something pretty good there.
Like John's tubing a lot out at Boca and stuff.
But anyway, so high school, you're getting into
it was more like late middle school, high school. I really started getting the bug, and obviously it helped too. When you can drive, obviously that helps a lot too.
Yeah. We're talking about your dad and you coming along, and we're just talking about the day of the trip. All right, you ready? I got it, right? Yeah. Here we go. Boom. So the day that we're on that trip, I really expected an amazing time. Thank you. But I expected you guys to be like always like on the same page, and you guys were. But then there was a moment where you and him have a little bit different look at things on the water. Not a difference of opinion. So when did that start happening? When did you start like, hey, Dad, are more time on the water, or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Thomas and I, and when I caught the bug, middle school, I mean, it wasn't just fishing. I mean, it was every waking moment. I was gigging before school, gigging after school, deer hunting, duck hunting before school, showing up late,
all that stuff.
So I was just obsessed. When I caught it, it was not, it's not, people, it's actually Mossy Oak's tagline, which is true to most people. It's not a passion, it's an obsession. So Anyway, so yeah, just being on the water a bunch, you kind of, when you start to figure out your own stuff, and not saying my stuff works better than Fuzzy's, but it might be a spot on the bar that I saw fish earlier. You know, we could be fishing a sandbar and I could have seen some tarpon cruising on top, tailing the day before. But Fuzzy hasn't fished in a few years because he's been down at Ford, and he used to catch them on the bar before. So if you were to really set up 2 boats and do that, you'd probably honestly catch one at both spots maybe. But just I kind of discovered the top of the bar thing, and I'm seeing fish. So I kind of want to do, you know, my thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do fish together. We do. It's not butting heads, but it's like, we should go here. I'm like, what about right here? So we have our different, but yeah, I think it's just getting out there, discovering, you know, once you start to discover your own stuff or techniques or hooks that work or, you know, leaders or corks, just little stuff. It's kind of fun throwing your own aspect in it. Like, you know, hey man, let me show you that.
Right. Yeah, and you're basing it off success.
Exactly.
Your dad's basing it off when he was successful, maybe just down the bar a little bit, and you're basing on your success that you were just out there the other day, basically. So no, I totally get that. So I mean, Fuzzy has been around a long time. Now you're on the water. When did you learn the aspect of what he said is the most important thing? You're an entertainer. Because now you're coming out of high school, you got the bug, you're shooting ducks, you're fishing, you're shrimping. But then when you get on a charter boat, what happens there? It's a totally different
game. It's so funny. Thomas and I went out the other day. We had the most unreal day. I took my roommate, Andy Bartholomew, and Thomas and I out. And you know, it's hard because a lot of these people really are great. They enjoy fishing, but they don't do it every day. And it's kind of like you with golf and fishing. You know, like if you were to take me on the golf course, I mean, it'd be bad. You know what I mean? Well, I just don't do it every day.
For most amateur guys, even if you play a lot, that can happen. But
but like it was a scenario where we found a school of fish and they were kind of leaving, and we had to jump up on the bow and just all throw baits. But you know, you couldn't just look at a family of 4 that haven't fished and hand it and be like, you know, you throw this artificial, this weight needs to be here. So it was like all 3 experienced people doing it, and it was pulling fish out like crazy. So with the charter, you know, it's different.
Which there's nothing better.
It was a lot of
when
fun.
you're on with your buddy and you're seeing those big pushes and the sun's out, you're like, oh, this is why I do everything I do. Yeah. And then charter boat, go ahead. Sorry, I mean, it's just so cool.
But it's funny, you know, you want them to experience it. We were just ripping them in as quick as we could because this is what we were doing. But well, you know, you got a family, you know, you might throw out 2 lines and then the kids are hooked up and the parents want to film the kids and take pictures, but at the same time you're looking over your shoulder and these fish are leaving. So you know you have like 2 more minutes to double up.
Your plan's already in your head.
And you're like, you just want to grab the rod and be like, throw this thing in the boat and hook up another one. But that might not be the most important because
you know it's not. You got to slow down.
You got to slow down. You got to have these kids enjoy. They're both got a fish on. They're both enjoying it. The parents are filming them. It's probably going to be their Christmas card. You can't be like, reel that thing in, you know, net it, you know. So
and there's guys out there like that. I hate to say that, unfortunately.
You got to just.
I've been that guy.
And I have too. Give me that rod. But you got to slow down, and you got to remember, you know, this is their. And you know, half the time they don't care if they catch a few fish. They're fine.
But it's a memory of a lifetime.
Yeah, so you don't want to pressure them. You want to let the kids have fun, or the parents, or whoever's fighting the fish. You want them to get plenty of pictures. And even though that school might leave and it might be hard to find them again, you might not find them again. You can't explain that to this 7-year-old kid who has his first redfish on. You got to net it, take a bunch of pictures, release it, and then also
explain to them what they just saw was pretty
exactly. So you have to, you know, the charter fishing and the entertainment. You have to remember, you know, entertainment. You want to be on their level. You want to have fun with them. You know, you don't want to, you know, it's not some crazy tournament that we have to catch 1 million fish. Just have fun, you know. And even when the fishing and this happens to me more than I'd like. Even when the fishing is just horrible, you know, you can't just be like
and you're doing everything right,
pouting and be like, oh, today sucks or whatever. You know, you got to still throw out some jokes, or you know, they're like, man, we really, you know, want to fish for dinner, and you can be like, well,
Piggly Wiggly.
Oh yeah, hope you like chicken, you know. So you got to still throw out
dollar fish sandwiches at McDonald's.
Yeah, you got to throw out some jokes, and you can't let the frustration, you know, expressed through your emotions or through your actions on the charter. Because I think that it gets just people awkward. You know, you can't be I mean, you know, if it's a slow day, it's a slow day. So you definitely can't. And that's the one thing Fuzzy really kind of highlighted is like, don't let a crappy day or a slow bite, you know, really change your mood. And it does sometimes. It's hard, especially with your tarpon fishing. Say you jump 3 fish or something, and the guy next to you, Thomas, is on number 5, like 5 for 5, and I just have jumped 3, and I'm just like, you know, it's just total.
Those, the days that you go next to your buddy, and
dude, that's the worst.
I'll tell you one real quick. This is the master. Okay, I'm out there at Mona, and I don't know why Uncle Chip was out there.
Oh yeah.
So he rolls in front of my boat, right, about 50 yards or so, and within like 10 minutes, he's just hauling this way, and we never saw him for the next hour or so. You know the one you just posted about the big hammer?
Yeah,
I think it was that one, yeah. And he just walked it right past my boat. They were sitting basically under my boat. I'm like, I just got snubbed.
Yeah, you're like, what is, like, oh,
what's he doing?
Snagged.
Yeah, he's got a torpedo.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
He's snagged. Good thing you're not on that boat.
So something you were just talking about made me laugh. You're talking about different techniques, and you're talking about taking amateurs, things like that. Why don't you tell John something you do that kills me about your rigs?
Oh yeah, so people are always, it's because Thomas, you know, you fish with different people, you learn stuff. So we get out on the boat, and he like looks at my leaders, and he's like,
dude, what are we going for?
I was like, great white.
This is his stuff?
Yeah.
So recently?
Whatever.
I didn't know what you were saying. I thought it was
any season.
So for fishing for redfish, and this is a little tip, you know. I mean,
here we go. Tell
a little southern draw tip here. So anyways, you know, people are always like 24, 30, and I think it does matter if you're fishing artificials and stuff. For just chunks of dead bait, I always used to fish lighter stuff, and I'd always get cut off all the time fishing around these oyster shells. So one day I was like, screw it. And I had a big school that I knew would eat, and I was using like 80-pound mono. And I even, listen to this, I was even using Spanish and kingfish wire as my leader. And I had one of the most unreal trips I've ever had.
You don't lose them.
You don't lose them.
But you weren't worried about them biting. That's the other thing, right?
Because redfish don't have the best eyesight. Now other fish
coming down on it.
Yeah, redfish don't. They're more a scent. So, anyways, I just have always used heavy, even inshore. You know, now not throwing artificials. I think it's different for artificials because the heavier leader doesn't give your artificial bait in the right play, and they probably do see it. They're kind of attacking it. But if a chunk of mullet sitting there on the bottom, I think it's fine. So
what about big when you've got live pogies for the bull reds? And
like 80 pounds.
You still going?
Heavy. So this is like December. The water's
crystal clear.
Crystal clear. We find this school redfish, and we were just gonna throw a few chunks at him, and he's like, dude, what? Like in his mind, he's like, he's the biggest idiot that I've ever met. And I'm like, they're gonna eat it. And he's like, no shot. Let him throw him out. Not even 2 seconds. We're like tripled up. And I'm like, I told you.
It's like 100-pound.
And these things are like piano wire, on the oyster, like ding 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 ding.
You don't even need a net, do you?
Yeah, I'm just like, see it hasn't broken yet.
Reeling in, baby.
Yeah.
That's actually a great tip. I just would have never. I would have always been afraid to basically put something that heavy on because of their eyesight.
You can use
I guess you're right because they're sitting down on it, puffing it out. I always think they're garbage tanks when they want to be.
He's got like cable on there, dude.
That's
but
awesome.
The Spanish wire was hysterical because I did, but it starts bending and everything. But I was like, I'm gonna even go heavier, and I had like kingfish wire. I looked like the biggest idiot.
I crush it.
But I still were catching. You know when you look like an idiot, but you're still putting up numbers. I couldn't tell anyone.
You just gotta roll it. You gotta roll it.
Everybody's drinking beer in the boathouse. Hey, did you see Drew's using kingfish wire for a redfish? What an idiot. I'm like, man, I had a great
putting up numbers. So anyway, if you need some 80-pound inshore, we got here.
Paul's about to be out of his
90-pound,
80-pound.
As long as we're on a light now, we will tell this story tonight. That I was down in Harbor Town this summer, and I get a call from. I hadn't really talked to you because I had switched from the north and the south end. Not that you didn't like me anymore, but who knows?
I liked you.
All right, thanks. And all of a sudden, you call out of the blue early in the morning, about 7 o'clock. And you're like, hey, what's up? And you're like, do you have any, what was it, 2 6s?
No,
you just needed weights, right? Weights, and I swear I did not have them, and I felt bad. I'm thinking, how I let them down, right? And then all of a sudden, about a half hour later, as you're going by my dock, you're going by in a $3 million center console. And I'm looking at you like, you're asking me for weights? Now, continue the story.
So,
it didn't end there.
At 7 o'clock, he gets called. I'm rolling out. I mean, he's like, what are the odds of going south? I'm like, 100%. you think you could swing at a Harbor Town? Do you have any 12 and 16s? I'm like, yeah, why? Is it go to the Ross? I told her, I'm like, we'll go 5 minutes over. Go in there, Drew's on the fuel dock, like, hey. I'm like, that's my money. Throw him like 5 pounds of lead. Same thing. I'm like, that's
so are we
the
getting
boat.
ching back for those leads?
No.
No. God, no.
Well, oh my gosh, that was so bad.
That is the entertainment that you do get with all of us, really.
Oh, yeah.
That's who we are. I mean, we could go back to the anatomy of just a charter, which it might sound like, oh, poor us, but no, it's not. It's a dream job, but it is like you go back to one thing you were saying. I feel like it is kind of a tournament every day because the prep that goes into your day, nobody sees that. The prep, the stuff that goes on at the end of the night to prep for the next day and walking around, barely walking because you've been burned all day. But when you put a clock on, and then you got to put a family with personalities, and then also they've got a checklist. I've had them come to the boat like, hey, we want a tarpon, we want a jack, we want a red. I'm like, all right, let me get my pen out. It's like, let's just try for mullet first, and we'll go for that. But
dude, mullet's hard.
Oh yeah, mullet's hard.
But it is true that you said, like, besides the entertainment, nobody wants to catch fish more than us on that boat.
Absolutely.
And now with social media and stuff, it's nothing better to hold a big fish up and be like, what's up? As we're trying to protect most of the backgrounds, but. Nowadays, now they just look for your boat and they're like, oh, I know where he's going on that stuff. So where is you grew up in kind of the heyday. Your dad's, a magician. You becoming a magician out there, well known around the island for a hell of a fisherman and a career. Where are we at on the island with the fishery? And we're asking everybody this because it's it's our backyard, it's our office. We've talked about
answer.
As far as I kind of break it into categories here. I think as far as inshore, the trout, redfish, and flounder, I think are doing great. Now there's a whole flounder debate. We don't have them really anymore. It's funny. I personally don't catch a lot of flounder on charters. I never really have, I guess. I don't know.
They're hard to catch.
But it's funny. I'll go gig with Thomas or my other buddies or Campbell or my dad or whoever can go with me, and you'll see like 60 or 70, and at night, and I'm like on the same creek.
Really?
So I was fishing on it. I'm like, and I was like, oh my gosh, why do you bite my...
You think those move up at night?
Well, I think it's that. Well, no, because I've seen them in the day. But I think what it is like how we're fishing. A chunk of bait on the bottom.
Yeah.
So foolproof. I mean, you got to cover some water.
Yeah, they probably don't like my 90-pound mono. So
they're looking up like, look at that telephone wire. So I'm going to pass on that one. And they're aggressive, too.
Yeah. So I think, in Waddell Mariculture Center, that whole program, I give them huge kudos. They release a bunch. I actually wrote a big paper on them in college. But they do, I won't get any of that to bore anyone, but you can look it up on there. But it's just great. They really do, with all the tanks out there releasing redfish. And this will actually make Thomas and you feel horrible. They put out like 2 million redfish, and then we all run a 4-hour and catch 3, and I'm like, there's 2 million redfish that
you're being pretty modest. I might catch 1 or 2. Your 3 is a little low for you.
No, but anyways, they do a great job, I think, with the whole red fishery. I don't know if they really do anything with trout and flounder. I don't believe they do. They might, so don't quote me on that. I think the inshore fishery as a whole, the only
cobia too.
Yeah, right? I'm just talking about redfish.
Okay, got it. Yeah, no, I mean they do cobia out there.
Yeah, no, they do cobia, and I think they're trying to do triple tail too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they'll pay you for legal triple tail.
Oh no kidding. Yeah. Oh, to bring it in and
there's like $600 for a live fish.
Oh wow. I should have known that.
Yeah, I tell my shorty, that's a trash fish. Put it in the live well.
You don't want that.
Yeah,
that's just a cute fish.
So I think that's all doing great. The only, I mean, it's not even we say it's a negative just because. It's not selfish, but it is maybe a little selfish. More people out there fishing, which they have the right to.
Right.
I mean, if someone just introduced me to fishing 3 years ago, I'd be out there every day. So you can't really get mad at more people wanting to fish. I mean, I do it every day. Why can't some other guy?
Everybody's right to do it.
Yeah. But I do think there's a lot more pressure. I've noticed spots have changed. I know areas have changed. I used to fish a bunch in Skull Creek, and this is actually. God, I think this is my like 12th year of chartering.
Wow.
And I know I'm getting old, man.
No, you're not even there. That's great.
But yeah,
Did you start when you were 18?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
And so I do remember, like, I didn't even leave side of the boathouse because there was no jet ski, there was no Freedom Boat Club, there was not a bunch of rentals, the tubing guys, and I'm not like throwing shade on them.
No, I get it.
Everyone has the right to use the water, but I mean, it's
gotten loud.
Everything's getting more developed, and I sell real estate, so I'm not helping.
Yeah, we'll go into that after. Yeah,
but I mean, I'm bringing people here, so I can't get.
You're going to bring 6 more boats to the island. That's great.
That's
or
fine.
maybe 10. I hope you sell a lot.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think it's just more boat traffic and everything. I used to fish in Skull Creeks and Skull Creek a lot, and close to the May River, there's a lot more boat traffic. So maybe you don't catch as much fish there as you used to, and people are like, oh, the fishery's down. But you can go to other places. Dawes Island or near Paris Island, places where there's not as much boat traffic, and I'm still doing the numbers that I've seen 12 years ago when I started fishing. The cobia, I really have no idea what's going on with that. People are saying they're overfished, but then how come Virginia and North Carolina are still putting up the same numbers? Yeah. And so I don't know where that is. I personally don't catch, and I think a lot of other charter boats can say the same thing. Don't catch the numbers we used to inshore and the size. So
I was with Greg Clark yesterday, and he was telling stories, like during the tournaments and stuff, popping a 72, excuse me, and then a 74, and I'm like, they're not out there anymore. Now his comment back to me was, they're out there.
They're out there. Yeah.
So he knows, so and he's pretty right about that. Maybe we're just not catching them, but I don't see them.
It could be the same thing as the Skull Creek fishing scenario versus, out where there's not as much boat traffic. Maybe they're moving other places we don't know about yet. So I don't know about that. The tarpon fishery, I think, has been great. We've had some phenomenal past couple of years. I mean, everybody's been putting up great numbers. A few people have been putting them up on the fly. My dad and I have been doing the artificial thing. That's been a lot of fun.
That's neat.
I tell you, he does the artificial, and who's great at it too is Kyle Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
We learned a lot from him.
What did he put up? Was it last year or the year before? Well, the one year, you guys were telling him the one year, wasn't it Mona? I mean, he was on like his 10th or 11th.
Oh, yeah.
He actually told you to come over, didn't you, and sit?
No, this is great. No, I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to. This is how nice of a guy I was. Okay. So Kai calls me.
This is for the record, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Kai calls me. He's like, dude, I'm on the most unreal bite right now. And there must have just been a line of fish. There was like 10 boats out there. He was on like number 11, and no one's got in touch. I'm right next to him, of course. And I had one of the guys that worked for Anheuser-Busch, and that's my dream to get sponsored by Anheuser-Busch. And this guy's looking at me like, I will never call you again. And anyway, so I'm dealing with that, trying to keep the whole entertainment thing going on. And so Kai's like, man, I'm almost out of bait. And I'm like, dude, I'll make you a deal. I was like, I'll go catch you bait, but I have to anchor up within like 10 feet of you. Because I had the Anheuser-Busch dude on.
You were pretty close anyway, right? I
mean, but I'm getting closer. So right. I go. I'm pulling the anchor as quick as I can, go throw the cast net, catch bogeys, bring them back to Kai, give Kai a bunch of bait. I'm literally like, I could talk to the guy on his boat like, hey man, you mind if I get that sandwich? And and I sit there and he puts up another one, and I'm that close, and then like the bite shut off. And so then that was it. And Kai's like, well, I think I'm going to go back to Hudson's, drink a couple beers. You're welcome to come. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to go straight.
Wait, did you hear a young gun set? What did you catch?
So I caught the first one that day.
Oh,
and I caught one at like 7:45, and Kai rolls up and doubles up. I'm like, I've never seen two tarpon come from one boat. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, sweet. I go back, double back. I see it's Drew, Campbell, and Kai like hugging. And I got another one, dude. I was like, oh my god,
this is where best friends.
But that was it. That was it. That was the only bite I got. Ty was ripping so hard, I had to roll. I remember seeing them. I'm like, dude, why are they all like tied up?
Right.
Yeah. And then I got the text. I was like, oh my.
Tower Boys. Yeah. Tower Boys were all close together.
Yeah. Like this.
Which is, I tell you, that's another one that's becoming. And I guess maybe what was it like before cell phones and stuff? Because like, I'm trying to remember. I guess you just sat at home and called a bunch of people. I know, to be a good fisherman around here.
I think everybody just sat at the bar.
Is that what it was? Yeah, but in the morning, what'd they do? They
probably go to the bar.
or ate breakfast. But now you're on the phone with somebody. You're linked up. You guys do it a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other guys, and it really kind of sets your day and your tone, doesn't it?
It does.
If you can trust the guys that you're talking to.
It can stab you in the back too.
We have
that's bad.
Yeah, we have a really good. I wouldn't say. I mean, I personally don't have any beef with one on the island. I don't really think. I mean, there could be a couple people. But I think for the most part, everyone's out to help each other out.
They really
Especially, I don't know the guys in Broad Creek and South Beach I mean, I know them. I just don't see them a lot because I'm not fishing on the south end. But as far as the north end, I know the guys on the north end dock, out of my dock and Hudson's. We're all seeing each other. We're all close. I mean, I could run out of weights again, and I probably could call any of those guys. And
we don't have any weights on the south end.
Apparently you guys are bad.
We're kind of poor down there in the harbor.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think we all do a really good job of helping each other out because I mean we're all in it together.
Yeah.
It's a lot better to be friends and enemies with everyone, especially when you're seeing them every day.
It's not a real profession to. As I've been getting older, I've been thinking about this stuff a lot more. Whether it was a ski trip, a dolphin trip, a fishing trip, the guys that you hang around with, and maybe I'm getting more sentimental, but I'm also around so many captains because I did move to the south end. So now Clarkie and Randy Osterstock and all those guys, and your dad, and just the history that this place had. But to be a charter boat captain is not something that you want to tell your kids to grow up to be. It is not the easiest thing in the world, and financially, a lot of times right now, especially right now, I'm going to probably have to borrow some money from you because you're a real estate guy.
I'll give you some weights.
Give me some weights, but it's definitely a challenge. But the rewards out there when you see that silver come out of that water and it hits the sunlight, and your heart just goes absolutely mental. And it's every fish. I mean, I could catch bluegill, bass, it doesn't matter. Go into that because I think one of the best fisheries around, and it's not easy to catch stuff, is the sea pines or palmetto dunes. Lord, we were golfing there the other day, and my buddy Boyd's screaming because there's a black drum and he's holding out his arms like that. Growing up in sea pines, what's the best catch you ever had in there?
Oh yeah, like pinfish.
No.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, you're in a mecca. I mean, it's got black drum, it's got bull reds.
We would fish the tide gate right by my parents' house. Sending flounder, big reds. I mean, it was unreal,
And it was even like reminds me as yesterday we're at Wexford and we're coming around the 18th hole. And there's this other golf cart in there, and it's all decked out with fishing stuff. And as we came around the corner, this little kid started shooting across the tee box with his fishing pole, and he was going to the gate back there. And I was like, he's going to the gate. I was like, I want to go hang out with him. So you think our fishery is good? Do you have any recommendations for anything? Like, you think we're in a pretty healthy spot? Your dad seemed to think we're doing okay.
I think we're doing good. I think the only big question everyone has is the cobia, and apparently there's just not. I know there's been some research and this and that, but that's just kind of the big mystery. I personally don't think it's overfishing. I mean, everyone killing them probably didn't help, but everyone kills them in Florida and other places, and they're having
Virginia's. I mean, it's on fire, right?
Yeah. So it's you can't look at it like that. I don't think, and it could be, maybe the. I mean, I really don't know. Maybe the bait migration. I mean, there's
a lot to it.
There's so many factors that can play it out. I think that's the big mystery. When you ask people about fishing, like I know you said you've asked a lot of people, I think people will bring that up. And I think the whole cobia fishery is a big mystery. I don't think there's really a rock solid answer to why they're not here today as opposed to 15, 20 years ago.
I was having that conversation, I don't know, probably 5 years ago with Mark Pincus on the dock. And he said, listen, he goes, things are cyclical. I can't even say it right. They'll change. They'll cyclical. And they'll make their way back.
Well,
maybe we're just in a change.
Kings are on fire.
On fire.
I didn't even know what a kingfish was when I started fishing.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, Fuzzy and I caught like one or two. But like my first 6 years. I mean, granted, I didn't leave Porthole Sound.
Right, but still.
But I think I remember my first kingfish. I was like, we're trying to keep it all professional. I'm like pushing my clients out of the way. I'm like, give me the rod. I gaffed it myself, and I think I was taking pictures with it. And I like put it in the cooler. I'm like, oh my god, they probably want pictures with it. They're like, what is that? You know, I'm like, don't drop it over the side. It's just kingfish. You know.
Oh god.
But like you know, like you said, like the older guys, the kingfish would have been like whatever. They caught so many of them, and oh, it's another kingfish. But for me, that was like, like at that point, I've already caught so many tarpon and this and that. I mean, this was like my 8th year of fishing before I even caught one inshore.
Right. I caught one at the Turtle a couple years ago.
Oh wow!
And it was an accident. Yeah. I'm not gonna even claim that.
No, that's all.
I had a bobber. We were waiting for the tide was slack, so I just had the trolling motor on lock, and I threw out a really bad looking rig, like a redfish rig, but it had and I didn't even have it. It had like 30-pound mono. And all of a sudden the girl goes, "Hey, the bobber's moving," and I'm like, "What?" And it was on a redfish rod, and it takes off, and because I was on the trolling motor, you know, I could chase it. It was taking line, but not like the kings out there. It was almost logy. I don't know how to explain that. Yeah. And anyway, it came by, it flashed, and I looked, and I went, "What is that?" Like, I didn't know, because the way it was big, too. I was like, "Is that a tarpon? It's awful skinny to be a tarpon." And it was a 42-inch kingfish, and we gapped it, and we were, like, celebrating. Like, oh, this is great, so.
Let me ask you this. So you said you fished in Port Royal for, like, 8+ years. How come that bar is called the Drew Bar?
Yeah, so that's another thanks to Kai Williams and Campbell and all my buddies. So this is just honestly making fun of myself. So I can run in any backwater creek and every oyster lake. I can navigate this, but somehow the biggest bar, I think the biggest bar on Hilton Head on Port Royal, I've hit like 5 years in a row, and I have no idea. I mean, it's like no one else hits it. Everybody else goes around it. And I think maybe because I'm like talking to my people, like entertainment. I think I'm doing my real estate spiel. Like, hey, you guys should totally move down here. And then somehow we're even with like pelicans standing on the water next to us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit it. I think it was like 5 or 6 times.
How long have you sat there? What was the worst one? It's not hot. It's not hot in the summer either.
No. They're always on my morning trips too.
Oh, good.
But it's nice and fluffy, so it's not a hard hit. It's a nice ease, So it kind of just sits my people down, you know.
I hit it last year. Same thing. I was like, "Is that bait?" And I'm going, and then I didn't realize the egret was walking. You know, I'm like,
I know. It's like if you look on a map, it'd be like a dead giveaway.
It's there.
Like, that's there. Maybe it's just, I don't know, but I've hit it. I'm not even kidding.
I can't wait till your 6th year. Just keep that streak going.
No, I don't think I hit it this year. I think so this is my
Saturday.
I'm sure
you'll come back.
Yeah, probably tomorrow on my trip. I'm going to be texting you. I passed it.
Hey, thanks for being on the podcast, Eric.
So now you got the Drew Bar out there.
Man, listen, to finish it up, let's give the folks out there a tip on just going out there for the day, not a spot or anything, just a general thing that you might do every day, even before a trip. You know that you've got a plan in your head. What would you offer out there as a tip, as a captain, and just going fishing on our waters here?
Like just going out for fun.
Yeah, just going out for fun. And what are you gonna do?
It's first off, it's just like anything. I would do definitely a little research before. Definitely look at your sandbars.
Get your sandbar.
Know where you're driving. But also just kind of the general area or just what you want to target. You know, you need to do a little research. No one's just going to go out there and just be great. You know, and with the internet and Instagram and Facebook, there's so much help nowadays with people putting up videos and stuff like this. And it's just like one of those things where you want to know what the species you're kind of going after it might eat or the habitat. For an example, like if Thomas and I wanted to go target black drum, we'd probably either get crabs or tips, or you could you could just Google. You know, Wikipedia probably has stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It might not be right, but you know, I don't know. So definitely have the basis of what you're doing, and then go out and try that, and just don't give up the first time. Because I mean, I've failed so many times. It's actually impressive how many times, how many bad trips I've had.
We all have.
But you just kind of.
It's not a bad trip. It's just that you had expectations.
Uneventful.
Right.
A lot of
right.
I've had
You're not going to get sponsored by Bud Light after that.
Yeah, my jokes got better. You know.
We all gotten better than that.
Oh yeah, I know. But yeah, I would just go out there and know. Just don't go totally blind.
Right.
Because then you're just going to get frustrated.
Yeah, and if you don't catch anything, so be it, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, just go enjoy the moment out there.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Surprised you didn't say, like, don't book during turkey season.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Oh, you guys in your turkey season. Oh, my God, dude. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you stopping by. I got mad respect for you. Love you as a friend and a person. And man, keep up what you're doing. We didn't get into it, but Drew Real Estate, where do they find you in the real estate? Got to pop it out.
Yep,
Great company.
Drew Davis Real Estate. Got a website. I sell for sea ponds. You can go on their website, and if you're looking to buy a house, especially one on the water, that way you can look over your.
You can see Drew. You can see your real estate agent
every
on
day.
the sandbar out there.
Yeah. If you want to buy a house on Dolphin Head, you'll definitely be seeing me out there. But yeah, absolutely.
And then your charter boat company, where can they find you?
Out of the Blue Fishing Charters. I got a website, Facebook, Instagram, all that as well.
And it's all Out of the Blue Fishing Charters on
That's
Instagram
correct.
and all those other ones.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Give them yours real quick again in case they forgot.
Shore Charters.
And then Captain John.
Call me first.
Captain John, we're on Instagram. If you fish with him and then come to me, go back to him.
I know. Not
Hey,
at all.
man, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Hey,
John.
I'll see
I
you.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
brother. Love
Thomas,
you.
thank you, buddy.
Awesome. All right. We out.